Steve Ploetz, ladies and gentlemen. So we got a question that I thought was worth talking about on the show. And I'll pull it up here real quick, Carrie, if you want to throw it up there. So Juliana reached out, and she basically said, hey, love watching your feedback on your videos about the San Diego market. Wanted to know if you could make a video about Temecula, Murrieta, surrounding areas. Should I sell? So she's like, I know we are part of Riverside County, but I lived in San Diego my whole life and couldn't afford buying there, so eventually want to move back. There are a lot of native San Diegans here in Temecula, Murrieta. Still commute to Escondido for work, and I'm tired of commuting. So what has happened is, and I had a conversation with a home buyer the other day that we were casting for a show, like the San Diego dream is now in Temecula. And so this has brought up a lot of conversations for a lot of people who are looking to buy, let's say, sub 500,000. If you're looking for 400,000 to 500,000, you look for what you can get in San Diego County. Your eyeballs just kind of naturally move up the map, you know. And sometimes you move up to Fallbrook or Escondido or Oceanside. But when you move up a little bit further to Temecula, Murrieta, you have so much bang for your buck, housing-wise. And so a lot of people are considering it. The individual I'm talking about right now, it was a husband-wife deal where wife worked at home, so husband was the one who was going to have to make the commute. And the trouble is, with buying a house like this, staring down the barrel of a commute from Temecula to downtown San Diego, you really don't know what you're in for until you're about 2 weeks into it. There's no practice runs. I mean, I guess you could like practice, pretend, like go drive up there and drive to work, but you really don't know.
Which, to interrupt you, probably one of the biggest things that I feel like agents miss in terms of contingency periods, that's what you got to do. You're buying a house near a school, you need to be at that school at 7:30 in the morning, at that house, at 7:30 in the morning so you can see how many minivans are parked on the sidewalk, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That stuff is important. You got to meet neighbors. You got to get a feel for that commute, and I agree with you that it's still going to be a small sample size for most husbands, not in every situation is the husband the one commuting to work, but as you're mentioning in this situation, the husband is going to be able to see, and the worst part isn't the commute there. It's that commute back. I mean, was it Julie, I don't want to mess up her name. Juliana. Juliana is going to Escondido. As the crow flies, not that far. She says, sad face, tired of the commute.
Right, and my boy is going from Temecula to
downtown. Yeah.
So that's an additional from Escondido to downtown and back.
So here's what I've got. This is the story that I wasn't allowed to tell you off the air so we could get real reactions on Facebook Live. Here's the appointment that I just came from. Guy named Sam. Sam is my friend on Facebook. He may even be watching this. He lives in Murrieta. He works in Encinitas. He owns a home in Murrieta. Single man. He is buying a second home, a small condo, within 15 minutes of his work because he's so fed up with the commute. Because in his opinion, and he feels like, hey, just something small, doesn't need to be upgraded. I'll use it as an investment long term, but he's working, I think 5 days a week. He's in the normal rush hour traffic. And the commute is so bad that he's basically said, screw it. I'll spend up to $400,000 in order to not commute. And I think that when it comes to a commute, a lot of people think, hey, you know what? It sucks for an hour and a half and it's stressful, but it's only an hour and a half. I want to change my lifestyle. I want to start working out anyways. I'll get up at 4 and then I'll work out and do some cardio. It'll be a great way to start my day. I'm going to go in early and beat the traffic. And people do that for like a week or two. And then they get in the same pattern as every other normal person. And that commute is more than stress.
You saying I won't stick to my workout plan, Steve? Why are you assuming?
I didn't mean to look into your soul when I talked about that.
Well, and you could be right there. And there's two schools left. For me, I can't do traffic. So I already know that about myself. Cannot do it. If I was staring at an hour commute every day, it would be, I don't know, what's the over-under on me blowing my brains out? A month and a half?
45 days, that's all you got.
Max. So I'd take the under. So like I know I can't do it. There are some people though, like, and there's ways to figure it out. You can listen to podcasts, you can make phone calls, you can schedule stuff. Like a lot of people in New York do this, right? Like people who work in the city, they're all commuting from like Jersey and stuff. It's like 3-hour commutes, one way.
Right.
So they're having to like just run like a business out of their car. So they got the laptop up, they're going 2 miles an hour, talking to people, doing stuff, like working in the car, which is nuts.
And I think you could do it, or most people think, I hate traffic, I'm going to blow my brains out, but for the right price, if the job is good enough and our payment in Temecula, Murrieta, Lake Elsinore, Menifee, wherever it is, Sam's
Canyon Lake.
etc., Sam's in Murrieta, he felt like when he purchased that property, hey, wait a second, let me understand. I'm in Encinitas, I don't know his personal finances, but he's probably making 6 figures, maybe let's say 200,000, a solid deal. And he looks in Murrieta and goes, wait a second, I can buy something legit, newer, sink at 400,000.
Yep.
Something great. And I've got space, I've got neighbors, blah, blah, blah. I'm in a normal neighborhood. I think that that's the biggest challenge, is that people forget the cost of their time. And now what he's realizing, and it's been 9 months, he's actually in a place where the value of his time is $400,000.
And that's kind of where I was at with this particular individual that I was talking about, the husband who's going to make the commute from Temecula to downtown, was you have 2 little kids. So now it's not even just the value of your time monetarily, it's now you're missing out on 2 to 3 hours, 4 hours on a bad day of travel time where you're not going to be able to be with them.
Yeah.
Some in the morning, some in the evening. That's time that's going to go away and be gone. And every single day. So can you make it productive by making calls and getting some work done? Sure. Can you make it entertainment? Can you gut it out by listening to podcasts? You like to listen to certain podcasts, you can listen to them, you can learn some stuff. Can you make calls to family members and stay in touch with people? Yeah, you can figure out how to do it. But it still doesn't change when you leave the house in the morning and when you get home, and how much time of that cuts out of your family. So I think you have to really think about it. I think Temecula is a no-brainer if you have a job where you don't have to go to the office, if you have a job where you work from home, or maybe you come to the office once or twice a week, and you can come at your own hours, your own time, you can leave when it's, if you have something flexible like that, which is not that many people, but if you have that, then it's a no-brainer. I mean, the value in what you get from a property standpoint, the product, it's no-brainer. I mean, for $500,000, you can get an unbelievable home in Temecula.
Newer product,
nicer.
Of the, I don't want to say across the board, but the vast majority of the schools, Temecula, Murrieta, they're 9s and 10s
really
across the board.
Really, really
so
good.
When you look at it and you go, wait a second, I can go Oceanside public schools, which depending could be somewhere between 3s and 6s, or I can commute an extra hour, be in newer construction, newer being the last 10, 15 years, great schools, family communities. I mean, it's the same demographic that's there. The problem, in my opinion, is with South Riverside, like that South Riverside County, Temecula, Murrieta, there's not a lot of industry there. Somebody, typically, is commuting somewhere. They're commuting to LA, they're commuting to Orange County, they're commuting to San Diego, North County, downtown. So it takes so much time, money, et cetera, out of there. And unlike the 15, where you've got the fast track that, hey, you know what, I'll just budget that in, we'll fast track it, and it's $8 a day, but at least I know that. There's none of that.
Yeah.
There's none of that on the 78. There's none of that on the 15 north of the 78. So you just get to sit in there with all the normal peons and just,
Pass the street. No, there's nowhere to go.
There's
no
nowhere.
escape.
And so what? They're going to turn a 10-lane freeway into a 14-lane freeway? I mean, pretty soon.
It won't even make a difference.
Absolutely.
All it does is just make the line a little bit shorter, but it bottlenecks then back at wherever it stops. So if they expand it from here to there, from 10 to 14 lanes, then wherever it's not expanded, that's where the bottleneck will be.
Right.
All they do when they expand those lanes is they just push the bottleneck back however far they expanded it. If they expanded it a mile, they just change the bottleneck for 1 mile. Right. That's it. It doesn't really do anything. So I do think, though, when you mention Oceanside, for the same price, if all things are equal, to buy a house that's in one of those 3 to 6 great school rating districts is a much better investment. And for the reason that you're saying, that there isn't industry in Temecula, but if industry came to Temecula, let's say Amazon says, yep, we found the place for our next big warehouse, Temecula, and huge industry comes and great jobs pour in, all of a sudden the prices do go up in Temecula, no doubt about it. And this is a game changer. And it's gone. And this whole deal, this whole possibility goes away. And the property values would go up. I think the chances of that happening are much less likely than buying that house in the poor school district in Oceanside and watching Oceanside grow and watching those schools get better. I think it happens faster, and I think it's almost guaranteed.
Well, and as you know, I like basketball. I would say, as a metaphor, nobody wants to take the charge. Nobody wants to have the situation where, hey, in order for those schools to get better, what it's going to require is it's going to require normal people to buy in those neighborhoods and send normal kids to those schools. And by normal, I mean we all understand everything in terms of, but smart kids need the support of parents and schools, et cetera, in order to get in there and make those schools better. And the problem compounds itself, where then what happens is people go, if they do buy in Oceanside, they say, I like this. I've heard people say it's an emerging market. This is going to be good. It's close to the coast. It's close to wherever. But we don't like these schools, so we're going to go to private school. Mm-hmm. And then that just compounds the school problem.
Right.
In the same, as a tangent discussion, is the discussion of Social Security. We're going to need a generation that goes, we'll pay into it, but we're not going to collect on it. That's fine. That's what gets us back.
That is a tangent.
That's a tangent.
I thought I was tangenting in Oceanside.
No, we're tangenting. Oh.
You're off the rockers with that one.
Yes.
No, but Social Security, I get it. And so, same thing. No, Oceanside, what are you talking about? No one takes charge. I took all kinds of charges. So can I come back to that, Mr. Referee?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
You probably would call blocking on me.
Yeah, but that's the risk.
Sure.
That's the risk.
So to make them, there is value there. But you're right. The problem is industry. The problem is the commute. The commute is brutal. It's brutal because, as you mentioned, it's a one-way deal. You get the 15, and that's it. So there's no back streets. There's no side roads. Waze won't save you from this.
Waze will send you into Rainbow, and there's been some discussions. Rainbow, of course, is this tiny, quaint, beautiful little place that is just south of Temecula, just like north and east of Fallbrook. Waze sends you through Rainbow, and Rainbow has been blowing up with all of these commuters that are now cutting through side streets, and Rainbow can't stand it. And that's the problem that has been created, is that traffic is so bad that drivers are looking for what are alternate routes, how can I work around, and it screws up everything in that whole community. I've represented numerous clients that live in Temecula, Murrieta, and work on base at Camp Pendleton and come in that Fallbrook gate, and they say it sucks.
Yeah.
It's absolutely awful. It's backed up. You got to wait 45 minutes and stand in line. And plus on top of that, with the newest construction that they've put just on the east side of the 15 in Fallbrook, that's adding something like 1,200 homes. I'm here to tell you, that commute isn't going to get better. It's not going to smooth out.
No commute and no traffic situation is going to get better in San Diego. It's just not going to happen unless Musk comes down here and builds tunnels.
And the unmanned vehicle where we just jump in and we don't have cars and then the cars park themselves, buy in Temecula, buy in Murrieta, do it. Because everything's going to be flowing.
You make a good point. If you are going to do the commute, I highly recommend, and I talk about people should buy Teslas anyway, but get the Model 3 Tesla, put it on autopilot, and you can literally not even watch. You can be in the traffic, you can have your laptop up, you can be working, you can be doing whatever, you can fall asleep.
Wasn't there the story of the guy that was drunk and hit some pedestrian, and the discussion was whether he was drunk and driving because he put his Tesla on auto drive? We'll talk about it.
No, that's a big case, and actually Elon talked about it on the Joe Rogan podcast, and the guy did not have it on autopilot. His vehicle was equipped with autopilot, but he was not on autopilot. And however, he did sue Tesla, saying that it was their fault somehow that he hit this guy, and the judge ruled in favor of Tesla. So, but anyway, so you could that would be a really good idea, especially now with the price locked in. They're getting rid of their retail operations for Tesla, so it's going to be all online, and they're locking in that Model 3 at $35,000 starting point, which includes the autopilot and all that stuff, and the increased the faster charging now as well. They're charging at 1,000 miles an hour now, whereas like when I charged this morning, it was like 100. It was the worst day ever for charging this morning. So, the Tesla is an option.
I like
to help.
Your subtle humble brag there. My Tesla didn't charge very fast this morning.
It charged so slow this morning. And
That's
you can,
my yacht. I don't know
and by
what
the way,
deal was.
no,
It just wouldn't.
and by the way, you can get used Teslas on Tesla website, and they're super inexpensive. And that's where I got mine. I got a 2015 for $39,000.
Hey.
So it's a really good opportunity to get a great car that has 0 emissions, 0 footprint, 100% made in America, and is one of the safest cars that's ever been tested by the National Transportation Security Board. In fact, the top 3 cars ever tested, the safest cars, are all Teslas.
Hey, do you want to bring in the Tesla banner that we're putting? Are we sponsored? Does it just
Elon.
fit right?
I got you, Elon. If you need a marketing director, call me. Call me. So the thing with Temecula Murrieta, I love the price point. I love the value of the product. I think that the traffic is a bigger problem than people realize.
I completely agree.
So I steer people away from it. But there are certain situations where people work from home. Like, hey, listen, if you work from home, or let's say you both work from home, no brainer. Or if you're an entrepreneur and you're like, you know what, should I start my business in San Diego or Temecula? I'm telling you, start it in Temecula. Move to Temecula, start your business there, because there's lots of people there. There is money there, but there isn't industry, which means that it's ripe for industry. If you could go start a business in Temecula, I don't even care what it is, roofing, plumbing, HVAC, you name it, especially HVAC. If you have the ability to do that, construction company, whatever, you're going to start a business in Temecula would be a really, really good idea, because you could get your house, you could get your commercial space inexpensively, all those things compared to here. But I think the business opportunity is relatively similar. There are less people there, but what you're looking at is a very sort of a controlled environment of people. It's not like here where you can get, if you go in a certain neighborhood here, you get a totally different demographic. You go over here, you get a totally different demographic. Like San Diego's a lot of pockets,
Right.
whereas that Temecula Murrieta area is just like one big pocket.
Right.
Now you have wine country, which is nice. So in my opinion, over the long run, that will help the area. And if you look in wine country, a lot of those properties are already so expensive that I'm just kind of like, wow, we're already there, huh?
And absolutely, there's $1 million property in
Bunch of 'em.
Temecula, Murrieta. Absolutely, absolutely. I think that the biggest things that will help values out there. My opinion, the benefits of Temecula, Murrieta, and South Riverside County is that you can get property at a decent price. However, there are some things to be ready for in comparison to San Diego County. As you know from the loan side, the loan limits are different in Riverside County versus San Diego County. So the loan limits are less, meaning that FHA, those values are going to be different. Property taxes are higher. Typically in San Diego County, I'm telling people property taxes are going to be around 1.25%. Riverside County, they're going to be around 2.25%.
Is that right?
Yeah, so the difference in the property taxes is also something to take into account.
That's significant.
So that impacts things. Now, granted, some of that is going towards schools, et cetera. To me, the biggest things that will add value in South Riverside County will be industry, exactly to your point. If there is business there and big business that draws people there, that would really help. The second one is impossible. If Camp Pendleton were to disappear, if Camp Pendleton goes away, as the crow flies, it's like Temecula Murrieta is basically Escondido.
Yeah.
It's really not that far. The access
To the beach.
to the beach is not bad. It's just that right now you got to go north to the 74, you got to go south to the 76 or the 78. The 76 has 15 lights on it. You're not going to, it's not a quick, if you decide, hey, let's make a day trip to the coast with the family, it's an hour.
It's a brutal deal.
And so
And let's get back to Juliana's question. I just want to answer this. So she's commuting to Escondido from Temecula Murrieta and doesn't like the commute. But that commute is actually not that bad. But what I would suggest is just look in Escondido. I mean, the closest thing we have to Temecula in San Diego County is Escondido. Fallbrook's also an option. Bonsal's an option. Vista, is along the 15 up there, and it's not the same, price point. It's a little bit higher price point than Temecula, I would say. But similar, you can find some, maybe you have to give up a few square feet. Maybe you have to give up a little bit.
kind of similar. But I would say the Temecula Murrieta is so unique a product in schools. Escondido doesn't have the schools that Temecula Murrieta has. Age, I mean, those neighborhoods that you just mentioned, Fallbrook, Bonsall, Vista, Escondido, probably the average age of that home is 1976 in those 4 cities, where the average age of the home in Temecula is probably 2006. Now that said, I started in 2005, 2008, 2009, Temecula, Murrieta, ghost towns.
Got crushed.
got crushed.
That won't happen again, though. There's enough going on up there now. It's not a shell game anymore. There's real people up there. There's a lot of inventory, though. There's a lot of inventory. I will say that. There's a lot of options. So if you're looking for $450,000 to $550,000, I mean, will find a lot of options up there, a lot of really good options, product-wise. But again, it's about the value of your time for the commute. I think you really have to look at that. Because a lot of times you say, well, I just want to have a sanctuary. I just want to have a sanctuary for me, the kids, I want everyone to have their own room, I want to have all this space and all these things, and it's great. But if you are ready to blow your brains out by the time you walk through the door, like, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
You'll be like, put me in the shack in Vista, I don't care.
And there is so much truth in what you've said there. Like, hey, the money that you save and kids having their own room and the backyard and all that stuff that you can find in Temecula, Murrieta, in order to have a parent gone and coming home 8 o'clock at night, not because they're leaving work late, but because it takes that long in order to get home. Most people feel like these are valuable times. Forget it. We'll go closer. I mean, like Sam's situation, where he's saying, and he's buying and he's in a financial position where he can purchase a second home. I don't know Juliana's situation, but maybe she can't buy a second home.
Most people aren't in that situation.
And she needs to decide, I can cut bait in Temecula, Murrieta, and buy something else that saves me the time. I think we as a society have forgotten how valuable our time really is.
And here's what we should do. 2 things. Number 1, if you're considering buying in Temecula, here's what I would recommend. Rent first.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. I think many people, when they're coming to a new area, rent and get a feel for it, because it's not permanent, especially out there. There's a lot of inventory. You can probably rent something decent, detached, $2,300, $2,350.
$2,000 to $2,500, you can get something really sick. So it's going to be probably around what your mortgage payment would be, maybe a little less, but you don't have the commitment. So if you're like, man, this commute is not cool, at least you know, okay, we have 1 year. Let's start looking, elsewhere.
Absolutely.
And so I would highly recommend renting if you're going to do that
You've never
first.
had 2 great ideas in one show.
I got another one. So even Steve, we need to come up with our commute value calculator.
Oh.
So this is going to be an Excel spreadsheet. We need to come up with this that helps people figure out the cost of gas, mileage on the car, time, and figure out from them based on, we'll plug in, okay, how much do you make? Like, how much is your time worth? We'll figure that in, we'll put it in, we'll factor it in so that people can look at it and go, and they can plug in the variables. Here's how far my commute would be. And they can look at how much they're going to save on the price of the home. And they could actually get raw, hard numbers to look at and go, this is how much my commute is going to cost me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you look at it and you go, okay, well, this same house would be $700,000, down in San Diego somewhere, but I can get it for $450 in Temecula, so I'm going to save $250,000. That's a one-time cost, though. Now you're going to have a recurring expense.
Absolutely.
every day,
damn day,
forever.
Yes.
And you don't get to write any of this stuff off. You don't get to write off, the cost of your mileage for your commute home. Like, that's not part of how it works.
Right.
Or the gas, or how the tires and all the maintenance that's going to be required.
Unless you're a salesperson, but still, no, I get exactly.
No, but the commute home you can't legally. I mean, the commute to and from work you can't. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So when you're headed home, that mileage you can't count. So I feel like if you could actually look at the calculation, and you would realize that it isn't as big of a savings as it looks like in most cases. But again, if you're starting a business, you're trying to think, should I do San Diego or Murrieta or Temecula? I would say take a hard look at Temecula. Take a real hard look at starting a business in Temecula. If you are in a situation where, let's say, husband, works in Orange County, wife works in Escondido, okay, buy in Temecula. They're both going to have a commute. There's no way around it, and that's what Temecula is good for. If you are in a situation where you can both work from home, or you work from the office very rarely, or you can be remote for most of what you need to do for your job, maybe go ask your boss, like, hey, I don't really need to be in the office. My family's thinking about buying in Temecula. I can do my work from home. Is that cool? Maybe they'll be like, you know what? Sure. And then, boom, there you are. Now it makes sense to be in Temecula.
And I think it would be interesting as well to look at, and of course every market is going to be a little bit different, but to look at, okay, what's the inventory like in today's market in Oceanside, Carlsbad, Vista, wherever else we're comparing to, maybe further south down to 15, like
or San Marcos.
Rancho Bernardo, San Marcos, Poway, etc., versus Temecula, Murrieta. I think that what you will find is there's far more inventory up in Temecula, Murrieta, which
True.
from the buying side means great opportunity. But it also means that when the time comes that you decide, I want out, for whatever reason, job relocation, kids have now outgrown the schools, it means that getting out of it is going to be far less liquid than even your neighbors just a few miles away, a few miles being North County, San Diego. For me, I don't like the situation where that creates such an, I don't want to say an urgency, but it leaves you in a place where it's hard to get out. And you need to be very, very calculated. And the problem becomes, in my opinion, is real life happens in there somewhere. And somebody says, hey, Derek, I know you're living in Temecula, Murrieta, but we're going to give you a great job in Salt Lake City. And then you put that house on the market, and if it's a tough time,
take a bath.
You take a bath, and you wear it.
Yeah, it's brutal. The good news is, though, the rental market's decent. So, you could, if you can rent it, you'll probably be okay. Especially if you buy it right.
If you buy it right,
but
it's
not necessarily. And the thing that makes me sad the most, and the gentleman that I was using as an example earlier is a case of this as well, is that a lot of times these are military families.
Absolutely.
That cannot afford, to live in San Diego, and here they are shunned, out to Temecula. Like, well, you can't get that here. Sorry, you guys have to go live over there. That just, I don't like it. But I mean, it is what it is. It's a free market, so this is how it's set up. But there are other opportunities. There's other places. They don't have as nice a schools. They don't have as nice a product. But there are closer places I think people should consider. Spring Valley, Lemon Grove. There's some up-and-coming areas as well. Like especially for people, if you're working at 32nd Street, look at Spring Valley. Look at Lemon Grove. Look at what you can get for $500,000. Yeah, it's going to be an older home. But you can find a 4-bedroom. You can find a place that's decent, for the same price. And you won't have this crazy commute. And it's, I think, a better investment. I think those places are more likely to appreciate, especially over a 10 or 15-year window, than Temecula is, because I don't think, what Temecula needs to appreciate would be industry, big industry, and I don't see it happening. Wine is there. It's already been there. Yeah. A lot of that's priced in. Yeah. I don't think that's going to move the needle any further than it already has.
And I would be interested to know the number of investors, and it'd be hard to poll the entire city, but the number of investors that are in South Riverside County versus are in North San Diego County. And my expectation is there's probably not too many investors that are jumping in to Temecula, Murrieta in order to see, because they feel like, wow, great cap rates and all this makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, you've got some valid points.
I just want a quick comment here. What's up, Greg? Greg Magnuson's joined us here. He said, great discussion as always. Love the show. Reminds me of the 6 middle-class money mistakes. Yeah, that's a good one. San Carlos. Yeah, good point. San Carlos has gotten expensive, though.
Absolutely.
It's like $700 now.
Same thing, La Mesa. It's expensive over there.
But La Mesa, I think La Mesa is one of the, next to Vista, which I know you're still trying to keep a secret, is one of the hidden gems.
Yeah.
Almost like, how could this, it's in plain sight. Like I see these deals in La Mesa sometimes. I see like listings popping up, like 529, detached home, nice yard, 3.2. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? So La Mesa's a great one. Take a look at La Mesa. If you're considering Murrieta, Temecula, take a look at La Mesa.
And to that point, I think that what people don't do enough of is they start in North County and they start hey, ideally, Steve, we want to buy Carlsbad. Well, you can't buy Carlsbad. We look through, we show you what there's available, Carlsbad, Oceanside, Vista. We keep moving and we tend to go up, exactly as you're saying, depending on price point, to the Temecula Murrietas. They should, my opinion, we should also look east. And granted, the problem becomes when you get into Rancho Bernardo, Poway, those are expensive communities. But Santee, there's some options. That's a community that's growing. I mean, look south.
It's a good point.
If you're
Santee,
and maybe you're commuting slightly opposite. I can't totally say opposite because the 52 is like the 15 north of the 78. It can be nasty.
Yeah, I would say, especially if you're Navy or if you're working 32nd Street or any of the government, employees who are looking to buy, I would definitely look at some of these places that are closer to downtown that may be up and coming. Take a look. It may be a tough one. If you have kids and school districts are a big deal, it may be a tough one to pull off. But you could look at like La Mesa. Makes sense. Right. There's opportunities. Like I said, Lemon Grove, Spring Valley, even just San Diego 92154. There's stuff down there too. But like it used to be this. It used to be okay. Well, if you were looking for value, it was Temecula, Murrieta, and Chula Vista.
Yeah.
And those were the two options. But if you're Navy or you work 32nd Street, you gotta go with Chula Vista. Like, it's crazy to put a 4-hour potential commute in front of yourself.
Absolutely.
You gotta go Chula Vista. You have to. It's just too bonkers to go the other direction. But a lot of people are still going up there. And now there's more because Chula Vista prices have gone up. And that's sort of the trouble with it, right? Is like the price will go up. But if you are in an area that's surrounded by nice areas or areas that are already established or that are up and coming even more so, Mira Mesa, right down the road here, forever, right down Mira Mesa, like 3 miles down Mira Mesa Boulevard, east down Mira Mesa Boulevard from where we are right now. We're near Qualcomm right now, so 3 miles that way. That was like a low price point for a long time. And I was telling people, like, this is a great place to buy. I know it doesn't look like it right now, but it is because, look, you're surrounded by really nice areas. There's just no way it doesn't go up. And now, of course, the prices are higher, and we can't put it on this list that we're trying to give a value.
And to your point, my opinion, I think the big takeaway is whether you purchase Temecula, Murrieta, wherever it is, don't discount how important it is to test that commute during the contingency period. It means you're going to have to wake up earlier and drive to that house so that you can leave that house when you think you should be leaving. But you got to do that a few times within your contingency period. You got 2.5 weeks, do it so you can feel it. Because I think that it's too easy to assume, hey, it's a commute. Everybody commutes. My dad commuted. My grandfather commuted. Everybody commutes. I can hack it. And then you get in the car and you realize, this is hard. Yeah. I show up pissed. I go home, it's dark and my kids are asleep. And that mental work, that mental stress is really valuable. Investigate it.
Especially in the winter, or if it rains, or if you just have a bad traffic day. I mean, how many times do we just have a bad traffic day in San Diego where it's like, there's an accident somewhere and everyone's effed today.
Right.
Like on those days, it takes you 4 hours to get home.
Yeah.
And that's a blow my brains out day right there. Like it's so brutal because you're going to have your normal commute days. You're like, okay, it's just an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15,
right.
Not too bad. You know, I have my podcast in, listen to my radio show or whatever it is in the way, and you can get used to that. But then you're still going to have those blow up days where everything goes wrong. It's going to be on a day you're expecting to get home at
and
a
you're going to
time.
miss your daughter's volleyball game, and you're going to miss these activities that are very important to you that you've been looking forward to, and you're going to see it on, I mean, whatever it may be, on Waze or social media, like, oh, here's what's happening, I'm missing it now. There's a value there, and figure out what that value is to you, because that's part of it.
I agree.
That really is.
Andrew, what's up, man? He says not to mention higher tax rates.
Yeah,
we talked about that.
Yep.
Yeah, higher tax rates. Steve hit that one on the head. Did we agree today?
I mean, it wasn't really anything controversial. Next time.
I was going to say, let's tease our next one. Next time on Even Steve. So Redfin has this thing now where they say, you know, buy my house now, or we'll buy your house now. And they've been buying houses in San Diego. Probably other places too, but for sure in San Diego. They own like 35 properties right now in San Diego. We looked this up. They're buying a house from what was going to be a listing of yours.
Right.
And basically, the amount that they offered to buy your clients
is open to discussion.
You advised your clients, well, not your client, but your past client or your referral.
Right.
You said, you know what? Take it.
And run.
Take it and run, because it's a big mistake. So we've been speculating on what the heck is Redfin doing with this? What is the long game? And that will be next time on Even Steve. So share this video with your friends. Make them smarter than everyone else. Thank you, Greg and Andrew, for commenting. Drop your comments below. We'll holler at you. And, of course, if you're looking to buy or sell real estate in San Diego, my man Steve Ploetz right here, big wallet guy.